Today we're looking at hackers. Every Souls game has a dark side. Some games, and consoles especially, suffer more than others, of course, but it's a fact that ways to manipulate the game do exist. Now, the clips people have sent in for this topic this week are amazing, but so you have an idea, a lot of the things you're going to see today are done with Cheat Engine. Now, Cheat Engine is essentially a tool or memory scanner, and it can be used to change and manipulate the information of a game. All that being said, in this video I'm going to showcase funny or spectacular encounters, people managing to defeat cheaters, and some interesting mod showcases, so we're keeping it light. I obviously won't be showing how to do any naughty, hacky stuff. So let's begin with number 10. Here we are back in Dark Souls 1. If you missed the news, clearly I'm accepting clips from all Souls games now. This player called the Main has invaded in the Chasm of the Abyss, a location in the Artorias DLC with lots of spooky floating humanity sprites. But what's even more spooky than that is what his PvP watchdog tool is telling him. The host name is in red, which means he's cheating. For those who aren't aware, back in the day Dark Souls had a huge cheater problem, and the watchdog tool was made by the community in response. It was a tool that sort of detected any anomalies or blatant forms of cheating in your opponents and provided an option to instantly kick these players out of your world. In this case though, this invader is very brave, he's not afraid. He knows he could be up against an invincible, godlike character, but he's prepared to take his chances. Yes, cheaters never prosper. You may have given yourself literally infinite health, but on the other hand, maybe you should have given yourself infinite poise, because the Silver Knight armor set doesn't have much, does it now? Praise gravity. Number 9 gets emotional. I'm warning you now, the nostalgia hits pretty hard, I'm just saying. Violet ZAKU gets invaded by Solaire of Astora himself, and it's beautiful.
Exhilarating, is it not? The power of the sun. I am blessed to have found such a brave companion. I'm glad to see you alive. You have done well, indeed you have. You've a strong arm, strong faith, and most importantly, a strong heart. What do you think? Why not join me as a warrior of the sun?
We all remember Solaire from Dark Souls 1. What times those were. Staying in Irithyll, Dark Souls 3, we have an Eldritch Faithful member protecting the cathedral. However, the host he's invaded has a bit of an issue. And the issue is, he doesn't like to die. Every time they kill him, he resurrects from the dead, like a true champion of Ash. That, at least, is the most creative way I've seen of essentially giving yourself infinite health. However, I can imagine it would be fairly frustrating. This guy's had enough, he gives up and walks off the edge. The other guy gets splattered into the floor. I'm so glad that had a happy ending. The poor invaders didn't die for nothing. Number 7 features Shinobu Kami in the Dark Souls 1 Darkroot Forest. I'm glad this one got sent in because it showcases something slightly different to what we've seen so far. First things first, the host is in dragon form, and I don't know why, but I remember cheaters used to love being in dragon form. It was like the cheater's uniform. What people used to do is actually try and hunt cheaters down. I remember that was a thing, there were montages about it, because a lot of cheaters weren't actually very good at the game. Now, there was an interesting way that people went about this. So players like this used to modify their health to practically infinite values. However, there's a mechanic in the game called bleed. Certain weapons like this invader's Chaos Blade inflict bleed, and in this case the Chaos Blade has a 30% bleed damage, which means roughly 30% of the opponent's total health will be lost each time he bleeds out, no matter how much health he has. So if he bleeds out his opponent 4 or 5 times, depending on his bleed resistance, he'll die, like any other player. The hilarious part of all of this, of course, is seeing cheaters who think they're invincible die to in-game mechanics, like this poor guy. It's very satisfying. As far as I'm aware, this bleed strategy for hackers only worked in Dark Souls 1, and even then it didn't always work because eventually people started freezing their HP values, so the number couldn't change at all, but still, interesting nonetheless, and nice to see one more cheater beaten fair and square. Number 6 is pretty big news currently. It's a showcase for some huge advances in the modding scene for Dark Souls that, if you think about it, have come a massive way since the game's first release, but they've come a huge way in the past couple of months. This video is from last month, from Wolf2K9, and it demonstrates a new scripting environment that's been made, and as far as I can tell, what this means is the existing modding scene for Dark Souls was already pretty good, but now the potential is basically limitless. This is a little demonstration of what can be done now. You can see there's triggers for custom text in the game, model and texture swaps, character movement and distortions, and camera movements using the system. Every single thing you're looking at happening right now in this little sketch is happening in the game. No post-editing at all. It's just a fun little interaction between the player and the crestfallen knight. The creator said he purposely used broken and poor English to show that it's just a test, not a serious custom campaign or scenario. Not all hacker encounters are what you expect. Actually, I guess most of them aren't, but sometimes you'll find players who are having a bit of playful fun, rather than being completely troublesome.
This man is only legs!
What? Hold on, I gotta...
This man is only legs! Well, he doesn't have a bag.
Exactly, see what happens.
You know, I actually want to backstab him just to see what this looks like.
Wait, he's running away.
I can show you the world! He suplexed me! Oh my god, that was beautiful!
In a similar vein, this next one features a completely blue cheater, and we know what that means. This team going through the Ring City get pounced on by a certain terrifying character of old.
Sonic, gotta go fast. Sonic, gotta go fast. Sonic, Sonic.
He's given himself blue colouring, crow talons for the claws, and named himself Sonic the Hedgehog, in case it wasn't obvious enough. They all end up submitting to his power, of course, no one can match his speed. Even this invader, who enters upon the scene, sees that Sonic likes to go fast. There's one point where he's clearly messing around with his speed settings, and he changes his speed to be extra slow. Even his attacks are slowed down. It's pretty funny to look at. One of the players starts mocking his slow speed by doing the overburden shuffle, which Sonic does not appreciate. Number 3 takes place in Dark Souls 2. I couldn't find out anything about how this one actually works. I've genuinely never seen anything like this. All I'm going to do really is point out what's happening here. This host was dueling on the Ironkeep Bridge when he got invaded by a hacker who dressed exactly the same as him for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, this player has somehow created a huge vortex of death on one end of the bridge, while the other end is covered with a toxic fart cloud. I still can't believe such massive effects such as these are possible. But from then on, the host starts summoning in random people, obviously to take a look and share his surprise. They can't believe their eyes. One of them eventually tries to pass through. I think most of us would be curious enough to try that, and he dies a sad death. the cheater can switch his clothes really quickly as well, which is brilliant. I guess that's how he matched the host initially. One thing cheaters often do, and I've seen this before when people send me clips, is they'll often fly to inaccessible areas and then teleport players to them. I think after one of the invaders tries to attack him, he flies up into this pillar and then teleports the invader in there, so guess he's stuck. Until later, when he teleports them both to this rock surrounded by lava and then leaves them, which leaves the invader quite annoyed. He black crystals out, can't really blame him. Here comes another summon to check it out. Pretty sure he just walks straight in and dies as well. And anyway, that's pretty much that. It all goes back to normal once he leaves. But I have to admit, that was really impressive. It looked very cool. I wouldn't be surprised if that black death portal type thing was actually in the game. Number 2 features HOTPOCKET Remix. You might have heard of him. He's a guy famous for making the Dark Souls item randomizer mod, which randomly generated the loot you found during your playthrough. This is newer than that, however. So there's 2 things to look at here. First of all, we're looking at a completely new ring being implemented into the game. The green Tearstone ring. Of course, it works similar to the other Tearstone rings, but boosts stamina when near death, rather than attack or defense. But what is really remarkable about this is he has not retextured an existing ring. He hasn't replaced an existing item at all, in fact. He's made something completely new and put it in the game. The game recognizes it as a new extra ring with original art, item description and effect. The next thing that he's done is made a brand new quest. HOTPOCKET has made what he calls the Estes quest, where as you leave the asylum, you're cursed by Black Dragon Calamite with a permanent special version of the Calamity Ring debuff, which, as you'll know, it doubles all incoming damage that you take, so it's pretty hardcore. In addition, Calamite also curses you and shatters your Estes flask, so killing Calamite much further on in the game lifts the curse and returns your flask, returns everything back to normal. Obviously, this is an extremely challenging restriction for people who want some extra difficulty in their playthroughs. Even some streamers, such as Lobos, have even tried this quest out, which is pretty awesome. It definitely makes for some fresh challenge runs.
Are you saying that we have the calamity effect until we defeat Calamite? Oh, God.
What was made clear to me though, and that I'll share with you, is that Cheat Engine wasn't used for this, unlike pretty much everything else we've seen. So these guys really know what they're doing. They've deciphered and modified the game's event scripts that are responsible for controlling what does what to add the new effects, as well as adding custom text to the game. So they modified the actual game files themselves. The game really believes that these things are part of what's supposed to happen as you play. It's quite exciting to see how far the modding scene has come. It does seem like some really creative people could now come together and change the game so that it can be played in a completely different way. And now, number 1, the Big Daddy. I've always found players who do things like this to be really interesting. We have someone who's clearly hacked their character into an awesome mini-boss. Or actually, it functions more like a full, complete boss fight. And when you see the full extent of what he can do, you'll see what I mean. Most obvious is the lava. Yeah. He constantly brings molten lava with him as he moves. He's clearly gone for a fiery, explosive theme, which I can get behind. His one-handed R1s fire a horizontal fire wave. The R2 has an added explosion at the end. The two-handed attacks shoot a vertical trail of fire, and that follows his opponent for a brief period of time. Oh boy! So this thing has multiple stages of advancing difficulty. The second stage has completely different auras, spells and weapons. He's now much quicker and enraged, much faster attacks as well, but all the while he behaves as a boss would, attacking in patterns and slowly stalking his opponent in between attack cycles. It's almost role-playing, isn't it? Yet again, he's fallen defeated for the second time. This third and final stage, though, is getting real. You might not have noticed, but in this stage, his stamina doesn't replenish with consecutive attacks. He has to cast power within to recharge. I love the little details like that. It just makes this fight seem so much more legit and balanced. There's so many aspects of this fight that I like. So many creative ideas put into this. It kind of sparks you creatively, doesn't it? It makes you think, how would I make a cool boss character? How would I balance the fight? I can definitely see the fun side with stuff like this. I also want to show respect to the opposing invader for not being ultra aggressive and finishing the fight really fast, because we all wanted to see all the cool moves that this boss character actually had. And well done for pulling through with the victory. That's certainly one of the more unusual top 10 episodes we've covered. I think you'll agree it was very fascinating, and even though I personally have no interest or ability with coding, scripting or anything of the sort, it's still good to have an idea of what goes on in these games, and it's just entertaining at the end of the day. I won't be doing this topic again, so everyone's aware. The next topic will in fact be top 10 unique builds. Information on submitting is below in the description, but I want to see the most creative, different and innovative character setups, including looks, armour, weapons, stats, spells and themes, all those types of things. And of course remember, any Souls game is now allowed to be submitted. Thanks for all the feedback with regards to that, by the way. I know a lot of people are very excited by this change. So thanks so much for watching and sending in your footage, everyone. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one.